Hello, makers of all kinds. My name is Lotta. You can find me on internet as fembarnsmamman, which means mother of 5. And you can find me on Instagram as stickmamman Lotta, which means the knitting mother, and my name, Lotta. And here, my name is, on this little part of YouTube, I take on the name House of Nellie, which is a name based on our beautiful golden retriever dog, Nellie, who is a happy family dog. I live in Sweden. We live in Sweden. Me and my family, husband and 5 daughters and a dog then. And let's see. Let's think about where to start. I follow a lot of podcasters, or some podcasters, and yesterday I watched Kathy Hay, who sews Victorian dresses, skirts, and walking skirts and vests, and her videos are mostly kind of a mental coaching sort, and she talked yesterday about just doing things, getting things done, and she quoted an author which said, I don't remember the author's name, but Kathy said she wasn't ready to make that episode she did, but she thought better make a half-assed job than nothing at all, which means, it's not perfect. Maybe it's not what she wishes that she would put out there, but maybe it's better doing something than doing nothing, waiting for the perfect moment. So yesterday night, that got me thinking. I've been thinking about this podcasting for some time, because since I started knitting, I've been following different podcasts, and I love this knitting community because it's an inclusive community. It's a community with a lot of empathy, understanding, a supportive community, and we share knowledge with each other. And because it seems this community realizes that we can be better makers, better people by supporting each other and helping each other. And so we learn more and achieve better things. And are a warm, heartful, kind community. And I perceive this community, the knitting community and the making community, as a very warm and kind and positive kind of community. And I've been thinking about my contribution to that, because I've been taking part by looking, listening, learning, but I haven't taken an active part. So I thought, maybe no one's interested, maybe someone is interested, or I at least will give it a shot by just contributing with my own little corner on this gigantic internet that we have. So here's a try of making episodes for a future podcast, or, well, let's just say it's the start of a podcast. This podcast will be called The House of Nellie, because we all love our dog, and everything we do here is done, with her. She sits beside us, and we make a lot of things in this family. We are, my daughters all play musical instruments. My husband is a very crafty and artistic man. He photographs a lot, and I make a lot of things. I knit, I bake, I cook, sew a little bit. So I'm just rambling now, I think, but I would like to try and share this making life with you in different ways, and just, have this little corner. So I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing if someone's interested, just to spend a little time with me. Yeah. That was a long introduction, but I think I'm done there. I started knitting, many years ago, but I knitted mostly scarves and hats and things like that. I was really not very good at handicrafts when I was younger. We have syslöjd here in Sweden, and it's called handicraft, and we learn to sew. And my teacher told me, you will never be able to sew, which was disconcerting. I don't know if that's the right word. Well, I wasn't happy about that, but she had a point. But when we had children, I started sewing a bit. Some clothes. I started making little hats and socks and scarves. But as we had more children, we kind of ran out of time. We have 5 children, and the everyday life takes its time. But my oldest daughter came home from school and said she wanted to start to learn how to knit. So we went to the library and borrowed all the books there were about knitting, and I read them all, and we started, knit purling, and she knitted with me, and when she lost interest, I kept going. And I started looking at, found homepages knitters' homepages, where they posted pictures on beautiful sweaters and cardigans and socks and hats and things like that. And I found this cardigan that I just loved. I loved the yoke. I loved the colors. I loved the pattern. And I started dreaming about collecting pictures, and started dreaming about, maybe someday I could learn to do this. And then my husband and oldest daughter came home and said that our local yarn shop, which we had bought some yarn in for some time, had this course of how to knit this particular cardigan, which was called Loppakofta by the Norwegian designer Pinneguri. And they thought I should join, and I did. And I realized there were a lot of things that I didn't know, but I kind of took all my courage there, and I said, I've knitted scarves and hats and things like that, but I don't know how to do this. I've never knitted in the round. That was nothing I had encountered before. Not a technique I knew anything about. But Annette, who owned the store is sadly now closed, but she taught me, and she was, she had a lot of, she was very, very nice about it. She was very calm, and taught me and about the things I didn't understand, and explained a lot of times. Yes, I forgot to say that. We live in Sweden, and but I lived abroad when I was young, about 9 or 10 years old, and I learned English there. I got it as a gift, more or less, and I went to an international school. So I speak English also. I'm a teacher in English as well, mostly a stay-at-home mom now, but. So when I thought about this podcast and which language I should speak, first I thought, well, we live in Sweden, I should speak Swedish, right? Because that's my mother tongue. But then I thought, I watch a lot of podcasts, and mostly English podcasts. Some Swedish though. But as English is also one of my languages, it just felt, I don't know, it felt logical. It felt like the right thing to do, or the right thing for me to do. Maybe I will post some in Swedish as well, but I'll start like this in English. Maybe just to give a thanks to all the international podcasters out there who might follow and listen to and really enjoy following. Okay, back to the knitting. This was my first garment, the loppakofta. I don't know if you can see it. I'll do as the other podcasters do, right? I will somehow magically put it in front of my phone and the camera and do this. Peekaboo! This is the first garment I knit. It took me, it was the garment I knit during this course, the loppakofta course, and it took me a fair amount of time to learn the technique. I experienced that my, what do you call that? Stickfasthet. My gauge is a lot tighter when knitting in the round. So I had to start over a few times to find the right size, and I had to frog it sometimes, or tink. I've heard that phrase used too. So maybe I've knit this like 4 or 5 times. But I've used it so much. It's knit in campus woolen yarn, which is 100% natural, no superwash, no nylon or anything like that. It's just pure wool. And I've come to love pure wool. It's a fabric that it keeps me warm and it keeps me cool, and I just love pure wool. I want to wear nothing else really. I don't think it's itchy at all, and well, it's just wonderful, and I love it. I learned a lot in this. The two-stranded knitting, well, the Farrow knitting, holding the yarn in 2 different hands, which as I do, and I still learn a lot about that. And we had, what's it called? We made short rows and everything. So I've tried different techniques there. So this is the first garment that I knit, and as we have 5 children, they all wanted one each. So I knit them loppakoftas, and I've knit some as gifts to people, and so maybe I have knit approximately about 10 of these. And I love the pattern, I love the design. I knit myself a second one, in which my gauge got even tighter somehow. I don't know how that happened, but I'm slowly learning why my gauge becomes tighter when knitting some patterns. But it's a constant process of learning this, and that's wonderful. I love that. This is my second loppakofta, which is my waste yarn cardigan. I just threw all the colors up on the table and just chose some colors. First I thought it was a bit vibrant, a bit much, but now this has come to be the cardigan that I wear the most, because I love the colors. It goes well with my grey-white hair, which I did color for many years, but just stopped coloring because I'm trying to move towards the natural, enjoying that and appreciating that. So this is my waste yarn, loppakofta, and I love the colors. I think it's great. Different blues and reds and greens. I love this blue and kind of goldish yellow. So this is a mix of Kampe's woolen yarn. I think it's called 2-ply. In Swedish it's called tvåtrådigt, so I think that's 2-ply. Fingering weight. think it's called also. So this is a mix of campers, and we have a Swedish brand or a company called Ölands Ullcentrum, which is, Öland is a small island off the coast of Sweden, and Ölands Woolen Center. So I send for yarns from there and receive it by mail. So this is a blend of those two different kind of woolen yarns. After having knitted a lot of these, I wanted to try something else. I realized that I didn't particularly enjoy having to button up my cardigans all the time. I think it's beautiful, but I wanted a whole sweater. So I found from a designer that I follow both on internet, as she has a homepage called California, and she has a podcast as well, also called California Podcast. And she had this cal, which I learned is a knit-along, short for knit-along, and it was an Icelandic sweater, a riddari. I don't know who is the designer of riddari. I think that's not known, but it's a traditional Icelandic yoke sweater, knit in the Icelandic yarn Lettloppi. And first, when I sent for the first batch of yarn for my first ever riddari, I thought the yarn was a bit scratchy. It's a more scratchy yarn, a bit bulkier. It's not. I don't think it's fingering weight. Maybe it's DK. I'm not sure about the different categories there. I think it might be a DK yarn. I'm not sure. But as I kept on knitting, it's also knit in the round. This one, sorry about that. Itching. This is knit from the top down. So I did the yoke first, and then I had a lot of knitting in the round with these, little loppas, as they call them, fleas. So two different kinds of yarn, but this is knit from the top down. This is a bottom-up knit. So you start down here, the hem, and keep on going, and you finally reach the yoke. First I thought that was a bit tiresome, but now I love it, because you start knitting, and you knit in the round, kind of just knit, and then you come to this, the fun part, which you finish off the sweater with. And this has become a favorite way of knitting for me. Yeah, I really like this. But first I thought the yarn was scratchy, and but as I knit, I experienced that, well, it felt like the yarn got a bit softer just by touch. Or maybe my skin got used to it, I don't know. But it felt like it got softer by touch. And as I wear it, I believe it becomes a bit softer. And I think that the colors really bloom when you have washed it. And I wear my riddaris all the time. I love them. They are warm and cool, and I'm a person who gets cold often, but when I wear this I can go outside without getting cold. So this is Lettloppi, knit in the round. I used, I think this is it's the middle tone of grey, I think, and with green and blue and light blue. I really like this. I've knit my husband one that looks almost like this, but instead of the light blue he has light grey. And I've knit my daughters one each. I believe two of my daughters have two, while three have one each. Some of the daughters think this is a bit too scratchy for them, or itchy. So instead I knit, I ordered yarn from a Swedish shop called Tant. I'm not sure what she's called. Is it Tant Ultus or Tant Kofta? I'm not sure. I'll check. I don't know if you're interested, but I can check anyway. Tant Ultus. Anna Bergman. I think it's Tant Ultus. It's a llama yarn. A llama wool yarn, which is not itchy at all, and easily substituted. It's the same gauge and comes in a lot of beautiful colors as well. So I knit 3 of my daughter's ridares in llama wool instead of Lättloppy. And I've knit some as gifts. I think I've knit, I don't know how many ridares I've knit. Must be about 20, I think. I've knit a lot of ridares. But it's a great sweater, and you can use it well, every day, really. And then after having knit ridares, I wanted to try to knit scarves. This sweater, or this cardigan that I'm wearing now, is actually a cardigan that my grandmother knit. So I've inherited it, which just goes to show that, you know, a home knit, handicrafted item and garment really stands the test of time. And I love this. I wear it a lot at home. So, but then I wanted to, can't get the words out now. I wanted to try something else, something different. So I started, oh, I didn't bring that. I found this shawl, Hansel Hap, which had, I think there's a bit of lace, and started knitting that, and that was a bit difficult. I learned to, I hadn't used, you know, slip knit and yarn overs like that before, but so I've knit some of those in different colors, and they're wonderful, and we use them a lot. I didn't bring any of them today though. And I knit some for gifts and like that. And I learned a lot by looking at all of you who have also knit those out there. But it's a bit of trial and error. Things I didn't understand, I had to you know, knit backwards, tinker it a lot. But and then I thought, you know, all of the mistakes aren't going to show. It doesn't matter. I learn a lot, and I love my shawls. Maybe they're not all correctly done. It doesn't matter. I use them anyway and love them. But after having knitted some Hansel Haps by the designer Gudrun Johnston, I'm not sure. I have to look that up. I wanted to use the waste yarn I had, because once I started knitting, I've never been a person who likes to acquire things. I never thought I would be a person who has a stash, you know, or a woolen treasure. But somehow there's a lot of wool in this cupboard, and you know, leftover yarns and yarns I thought I would use but haven't used yet. And I found this brown camper yarn, and I thought I'd do something with that. And then my favorite homepage and designer, podcaster, Camabornia, one of my favorite, had started selling this, the skymningssjal. So I bought this pattern and started knitting this shawl. And this is a shawl that I use a lot. I love the brown color. I love the brown color. I love the green color. So this is Campes dark brown yarn, 2-ply, fingering weight, and this is Rauma fin ull. I don't remember the color. So this was a relaxing knit, and still I managed to to read the pattern wrong and knit row 1 all the way here to here. It looked really crazy, but then I understood that I needed to, yarn. I needed to knit like that and turn it back and knit, and out came these small, beautiful, lacy things. But it's great. You learn patience by knitting, and you learn to enjoy the process, which is a good thing, I think. So I knit this, and my oldest daughter has knit herself a Hansel hat all on her own, with a little help from me, and my second oldest daughter has knit herself one of these in a light green with a white lace edge. It's beautiful, really beautiful. And then I wanted to try another shawl, because then I started loving to knit shawls. And I found this by P. Fortune, she's called on Instagram. I think she's an American living in Norway. What's it called? Her name is Patricia, and she's called P. Fortune on Instagram, at least. I think you can find her there. I can't remember what her homepage or shop is called, but this is the Forest Path hat that she designed. It's designed for Rauma finull, 3 balls of yarn. I ordered this yarn from Ölands Ullcentrum, because I just love the color, the different shades of green, grey. Turns out I really love green. I didn't know that, but I do. I think it goes well with, my complexion and my hair. And colors change as your hair color changes, and well, the colors don't change, but what you fit in changes. And I think I fit well in this. So this is the Forest Path hat. It's supposed to be little, I think it's called fir trees, but you can't really see them in this color. And then I ran out of yarn, because this was a bulkier yarn than Rauma finull, and I didn't know that. I thought it was the same, but it's not. So I went to this yarn shop in Lindome. It's called 60 Garner Nord. You can find that also on the internet. She sells a lot of Shetland, Jameson and Smith yarns, and she has a beautiful shop. So go look at that. She's a wonderful person as well. And then I had this yarn lying around, but when I came to 60 Garner Nord, she said I wanted to find something that was in this color, or maybe gray, green. But then she showed me her own yarn, which is spun at Boven Spinnhus, I think it's called. I haven't been there yet, but I want to go there someday, after all this corona thing has calmed down. We're not really going anywhere now. But then I had this yarn in my project bag already, because I had thought maybe white goes well with this. I'm not sure. So I started knitting with this, and I think it's beautiful. I think the edge turned out wonderful. It's wonderfully drapey. And I also use this a lot with a shawl pin to keep it on me. I didn't bring that now. It's warm and cozy. I really like this. Yeah. And I'm also currently knitting one as a Christmas gift for my mother-in-law. And she knows that, so if she watches here, I won't be ruining the surprise. But then I wanted to try to knit one in the recommended yarn because I wanted to see the difference. And she is a person who loves blue. She wears a lot of jeans and different shades of blue. So I ordered this. I can't remember. It's a denim kind of blue colour. I'm not sure it comes out. I'm trying this as other podcasters do. I'm not sure what it helps, but I'm trying this. It's a denim kind of blue which shifts a little bit. It's not variegated, but it has a slight shift to it. And it turns out this is a very light shawl. This is not light at all. This is a bit heavy and bulky, and it's more like a blanket kind of shawl, which I love. But I think I'll knit myself one in Roma Fino as well when I've done this. I think the different kinds of knitting, shows better in this, because you can see the moss stitch, and you can see, the knitted things. The pattern shows up. I think you call it stitch definition. It shows up in another way than in my shawl. And this is a lovely pattern. I would all recommend you to try this, because you will have a fun time knitting it. It's a bit of variation with different. Sorry, I'm a bit hungry. This is up. So I've almost reached the lace section now, which is this section here where the fir trees show up. So I'm soon starting that. It's going to be lovely to see how that looks, because I'm not sure. I'm sure it will turn out great in this. I love how it looks in this, but it's going to look a bit different here, I think. So I'd like to... oh, her name is Patricia. Yes, the designer's name is called Patricia. And the one she knit, the pattern, the pictures in the pattern is a dark green one. And I would love to knit myself a dark green one. So I think I'll try that. But the list of knitting is so long. I never thought that I would have many knits going on at the same time.